Well, welcome everyone to the Power Half Hour. Today we have a very special guest whom I met back at the Build 2022 back in Dallas, and we just hit it off right off the bat here in Dallas. And he's from Minnesota, Mr. Brett Cleveland. Welcome to the call. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, sir. So every single week we interview a top agent. And you've been now in real estate for the last 7 years, and obviously seen some ups and downs in your own career. So tell us how you started first and foremost.
I got into real estate. I've got 3 young kids at home. I had 2 at the time when I got into real estate, and I bartended for the last 12 years prior to this. Loved it. Worked 3-4 days a week and made 50 to 60K, and I was like, this is awesome. I love my job. Money's good. I always got cash. And then, my wife said, what are you going to do when the kids are all in school and you're leaving before they get home from work, you're leaving for work before they get home from school, and then you're only seeing them basically in the morning before they leave on the bus. And I'm like, I never really thought of that. So I started searching around and tried a few odd end jobs and did some shadowing and things like that for insurance and for cell phone stuff and things like that. And I went to a career seminar thing for real estate with KW, and it just I don't know, it just clicked. I was like, yeah, this is definitely something that I want to do. And so, yeah, I got my license in June of 2015. And then for the rest of the year in 2015, I did 1 deal. So in that 6 months, and I almost got out of real estate because right before I had that 1 deal, I was just getting ready to get married, and no money's coming in, and I'm working 60 hours a week, trying to get this real estate business going. And then 4 or 3 days out of the week, I'm bartending until 2 a.m. And then I'm going right from, 2 open houses to go change my clothes in the car and go in and go bartend for the next, 8 hours. And I'm like, this is just not sustainable. I can't do this. And, I talked to a couple different agents that just said, hey, it's one of those things, keep your head down, keep pushing through. There's going to be a moment where it just clicks, and you're going to be surprised by it, and it's going to change your life, and you're going to be on track. I'm like, you better be right, because I can't take this much longer, And then, so I got that 1 under contract that first year, and then the next year, my first full year in real estate, I think I did 23 units my first year, and then
wow,
going from there. So
yeah, okay. So I want to back up a bit because friends were telling you, what, just put the blindfolders on, just keep going because it's gonna click. There's a moment that it'll just click, and we have a very similar story. My first half year, I joined July 2006. And for the first 6 months there, I did 2 transactions, and I was on a team. I made $2,500 my first 6 months, and I was like, "Oh, this is real estate, right?"
Yeah.
But yeah, so 23 transactions in this first full year. Who were you talking to, and how did you get that business?
I remember my first year, I ended up taking Bold, which I'm sure you're probably familiar with. It was a real estate class. It's like 7 weeks, and their big thing was, do the Bold 100. Call 100 people in a day, and I'll ask them, who do you know that is looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate that you can put me into contact with? I'd love to help them. Okay, so I tried to scrounge up every possible person I could think of. I mean, I took my mom and dad's phone book. I called neighbors that I've never met. I called great aunts and uncles that I haven't seen in 20 years. Hey, it's Brett Cleveland. Do you know me? And they're like, well, yeah. How are you? Is something wrong? And I'm like, no, I'm just calling to tell you I'm in real estate. You know anybody looking to buy or sell I could put you in touch with? And I absolutely despise that. I hated it. Um, I I hate just I when I call somebody, I want to call from contribution, and I want to say, I'm calling you to invite you to
Yeah.
something. I'm calling you to give you some information that could be
Huh.
helpful, or I'm calling to give you a referral. I feel like that's the better route now in my business. But when I first started, it was call every single person I possibly could find, do as many open houses as I possibly could do to get in front of the most amount of people. I remember when I was getting my
That's
real
it.
estate license, the one of the professors or teachers was saying, the more people you know, the more real estate you'll sell. And I'm like, that's been just a staple in the back of my head that any chance I have to meet somebody new and have a good conversation, that's what I want to do. But I think I kind of answered.
But you had to do the uncomfortable work. You had to talk to people
Oh
that
yeah.
you knew or barely knew you,
Hmm.
and you had to straight up ask for business. And I don't think there's any way around that, right, to start off in your career.
Right. Right.
Because, by second year, third year, more people know you, and then the conversation becomes a little bit better. Here, hey, I'm just giving you a call to give you a quick market update,
Yep.
right? And if you know anybody that has any real estate questions, I can certainly help them,
For
right?
sure.
But from the very get go, you have to ask, who do you know that's thinking about buying or selling that I can help? And it has to be as straight as that. But you
Yep.
put in the time,
You got to go
you
for it
put in
right
the
away.
work. So how did you get over that? You said, I said, thank you so much for being honest because you said you despised that, but
And
you did it anyways. Why?
I did. Well, because we were, we were trying to hold ourselves as accountable as possible, and then two, I mean, I needed a deal. I didn't have any money coming in. My credit card bills are just adding up. My mortgage is getting harder and harder to pay for because I don't have any deals coming in, and you know, at that time it was like, well, it's feast or famine. I mean, it's do the hard work and eat the frog, and do the stuff that I can't stand, or I have to go back home and show my face to my wife and my kids and be like, sorry, I'm not cutting it. So, I mean, it was one
Wow,
of those things. So, I think especially too
man,
for,
I always talk about this.
but
Yeah, I think you need to have the why power, and for you, the why was not hard because you had two young kids, right? How old were they when you first started?
my daughter was 1.5, and my son was, well, 3.5. Yeah.
3.5 and 1.5, guys, and that is major accountability, right? It's right there in front of you. Your kids are counting on you,
Right.
right? And your wife's looking at you like, are you gonna do a deal or are you gonna go back to full-time bartending, which you will never be able to see your kids? So,
Right.
Brett had motivation, motive to take action,
Right.
right? How would you advise younger agents these days if they don't have kids, if they don't have, something at stake, how can they motivate themselves?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think a lot of it comes down to kind of, I think the biggest part it comes down to is where your financial thermostat's at. And I don't know if, a lot of people are aware what that is, but I look at a financial thermostat as, all right, how much, how many, regardless of how many deals you want to do this year or whatever, before you're breaking down your goals, how much money do you want to end up making at the end of the year? Do you want to end up making
Yep.
$30,000? Are you fine with that? Because then that's where your financial thermostat's going to be. You're not going to have a lot of drive to go past that. Now, if your financial thermostat is, hey, I am going to make $200,000 this year. I'm not going to, take 150 and be happy. I'm going to make this much money. Then that's where your financial thermostat is. And I think that basing your goals off of that, then if you do end up doing 175, was it really that bad? No. But I think if you set that financial thermostat a little bit higher, it pushes you more. I mean, my first deal, or my first year in real estate, my first full year when I did 23 deals, I was like, I want to make 80 grand. Like, I think that'd be so awesome if I quit my job making 50 to 60 and I made 80 my first year. That'd be so cool. and I ended up making 79,700 and something, like almost hit 80. And I'm
Wow.
like, it's so crazy that's my financial thermostat. That was what it was that year. And so I said, I want to do this many deals, and this is what I'm gonna, push myself to do.
That's so it's amazing, guys. When you write your goals down, this is just something happens in your mind that once you put that down, it's like you decided that that's what you want to make, and eventually it will happen. I don't think Brett was very upset that he hit 79,000, almost 80,000, but because he wrote it down and he put in the work, right, and it
Yep.
becomes real. How important is goal setting for real estate agents? Do you think, Brett?
Oh, it's the biggest thing. I mean, I think it's, if you don't have anything set and you don't have anything to look at and strive for, you're just going to get complacent. You're going to like, oh yeah, I'll make my 5 calls today, and if my phone rings back this week, cool. I think if
Yeah.
you don't set those goals, you're not gonna. I think I don't have the stat, but I know there was like a Harvard study of how many Harvard graduates would write down their goals for 20 years after graduating college, and like out of those 20 people, or whatever, they did like 95% of them hit all their goals because they wrote them down. And then the other 20 people that didn't write down goals, only 4 were out of debt, and whatever. It was I don't remember the exact stats, um, but I've heard that analogy before, and I think that having that visual board, or whether people do a vision board or they do set their goals, whatever those goals may be. I mean, I set mine up where this is the amount of volume I want to do for the year. This is the number of transactions, number of units, number of GCI, and then on top of that too, then I'll write another column of my other goals where it's like I want to read at least 12 books this year. So one a month. I want to pay off my wife's vehicle. I want to invest. I want to get buy an Airbnb and a long-term rental this year, or whatever. And I write that whole list up, and there's nothing more gratifying than to be able to just cross something off that list and be like, because even if my goals are, my GCI goals is, it's $50 million. Well, if I look back on my goals for the end of the year and I do 40 million, if that's still an upgrade from the year before, I mean, that's progress. It's something that's pushed you. Maybe the goal was too high, but at least pushed you to get close to that peak. You don't climb Mount Everest in a day. You have to do it at, in increments. And you have to train your body and train yourself to, get those goals bigger and bigger.
That's so great, so great. We set goals to have a destination, and if you don't have a destination, just like you get into a car, and then you're like, okay, where are we going? Well, I'll just drive, right? It's kind of like that for goals. You have to write something down. You have to put something in the GPS, or else how do you know where you're going? So put something down, and it will happen. As long as that, if you put something down and you drive, you'll get there. Just like real estate, it's you put the goals down and you keep working, you will get there. But I think another thing is what I read today from the book Traction is that we have to enjoy the road to the destination.
Right.
There's this place in Maui called they call it the Road to Hana.
Oh yeah. My mom.
And Hana seems like this magical place. Yeah. So when the road to Hana is absolutely beautiful because you all have this scenery, the roads are beautiful, right? Beaches, whatnot. And when you get there, it's this little town of nothing, and it's got one gas station. And they're like, hey, what the hell? We drove 5 hours to get to Hana, which is POS kind of place. But you missed the point. And I think in real estate as well, we need to enjoy the journey instead of getting to the destination, or else,
Right.
if you're not enjoying this, you're not going to be happy when you get here. It doesn't matter. So how important is it for you to enjoy the journey in real estate, do you think?
Yeah, I think that's why we're all in this business. Like we want to have that flexibility in our schedule. We want to have time to, travel and have time to golf and have time to, you know, enjoy our family and things like that. So, I mean, I look at real estate now, I think a little bit different than when I first started. When I first started, it was always like, how am I going to double my goals? How am I going to get, do more and more
Yeah.
and more and more? Well, I've
Yes,
done,
yes, yes.
I've done years where it was over and beyond what I was anticipating, making. But then also I look on that year and I'm like, I was working a lot. I mean, I was working 3, sometimes 4 weekends a month and all day during the day and, putting all those hours in. Yeah, I made more, but also at the same sense too, like last year I made a little bit less. I worked 1 weekend every probably 2 months. I did a little bit less in deals. I just cut back on my business, and I'm very lean. I run my business very lean, so I don't spend a bunch of frivolous money on advertising and billboards and anything crazy like that. I go old school and go back to the basics, and I talk to people I know, people that know me and love me and trust me, and I run it lean. And if I want to, if I get a call from my wife in the middle of the day and it says, me and our daughter want to come have lunch with you. Sweet. I'll call up my next appointment, move it an hour, and go sit and have lunch with them. I'd rather have that freedom and that family life too, because that's the most important to me, than doing more and more and more and more and more every year. But I mean,
Yeah,
everybody's
everybody's different. Yeah, and we all get caught into this like more, and we forget that what's really important is family. What's really important is health, and we don't live to work. We work to live our lives, and real estate again is just a platform for us to achieve our goals, which at the end of the day, which is spending more time with family, having freedom, options, and choices, right?
Mhm.
So I really like the way you think. So how did you go from being super unbalanced then to being super balanced? Like, okay, and how are you then okay with less income? Because a lot of agents is like endless. I just want more.
Right, right. I think it really got to a point when me and my wife had to have a serious sit down, because it was like, hey, you're not home. Like I didn't sign up for to have a husband that's never home. I don't care if you make $1 million a year.
Oh,
I want to see you, and the kids do too.
wow.
I mean, and it's true, and it's like, well, yeah, maybe I had my priorities wrong. Like that's a really good point. Like obviously,
Wow.
I don't want that to go. I want you guys to be happy. This is why I'm working so much, is because I want you to be happy. And I think the biggest thing was then prioritizing and then setting those expectations with my clients too. So, when I have a buyer rep conversation with a new buyer, and I say, all right, I've got a very flexible schedule, except for Sundays is my family day, and I'm not negotiable about that. And I said, if you want to see a property and it's last minute, I'm going to do my best to try to do it. But if I can't, I'm going to schedule it the next possible day. I have a big database of people and other agents that I work with as well too. So there may be a time where maybe they show you a property, but I'm going to do my best to get you in there to provide that good service to you. But I said also, I do have a family and other responsibilities with my kids and things like that. So I just set that expectation up front. And then after that conversation I had with my wife, I basically said, all right, I'm going to cut this down, and I'm only going to work 1 weekend a month or 2 weekends a month. I don't remember when we first talked about it. I think it was. And then I always make sure that I'm at least home for dinner 2 nights a week. And usually that's like 4. I'm home. Because I just schedule it around
That's
it.
awesome.
If I'm talking with a client and they're like, well, we can do this listing appointment, but we want to do it at 7 o'clock at night on a Wednesday or a Friday. I'm going to say, okay, well, I can do it Thursday at 5 or Friday at 4:30. And they're like, well, I've got to work. Well, if you have a dentist appointment, you take off a little bit early for work to go to that dentist appointment, right? we're going to be selling your home that's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Can you meet me at 4:30? You know what I mean? And a lot of times they're like, yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah. Good
But
for you. You really, family is first, but it did not come until your wife had to have that,
yeah,
come to Jesus conversation, right?
right. It wasn't fun either.
Brett, I still remember this plain. It wasn't fun. Like I remember this plain as day. I don't know if you remember what I shared on at Bill, but I came home one day and it was 2011, 1 year into our marriage, and there my wife was, and she's listening, and she was in front of her computer, and I would ask her, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" It was like 11 o'clock at night. I had been out since 7 o'clock in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
and then she would say, "When am I gonna be happy again?" Right, and that's like, ouch. Right? So you never, guys, if you are married right now, you never want to have that conversation with your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
And, communication is key, right? And I think if you take care of things at home, then business will blow up anyways.
Right.
And I think it's just that simple. If you take care of this, if you take care of your health and you take care of your family, everything else just comes together so nicely, right? And I think I learned my lesson the hard way. But thank you for sharing that, Brett. Now I want to switch gears a little bit, Brett. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna. I always joke with my wife about. I always say, I'm like, gosh, if it weren't for you and the kids, I'd probably have a Ferrari and be a scratch golfer by now. And I totally as a joke, and she just laughs. She's like, yeah, right, you a scratch golfer.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I was
That's awesome.
give her crap about that, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you said shift gears.
Yeah, shift gears. I want to talk a little bit about the market. I know the market right now this is the topic right now is that it's changing, and it's changed and it keeps changing, and the interest rates are going to keep going up. How are you seeing the market as we go along, and what are you doing differently?
Sure. I think with on the list side, I primarily work with listings. I think on that side, I think those expectations for the sellers immediately. So when I'm meeting with them and they say, well, my cousin sold his house in May, and he had 14 offers, we got 40,000 over. I'm like, that's great, and that's awesome for your cousin for timing that really well, but that's not the market that we're in right now. And when the market is fluctuating like this, we can't be priced up here where it was in May. The market's coming down like this, we need to price ahead of the market. Because if we price it back here, the market keeps going, price reduction, and we're always trying to catch up to the market, and we're never getting there. So we need to be a little preemptive, price it aggressively on the front end, and then that way, then we're not having this conversation in 30 days about how big of a price reduction do we want to make because we're way overpriced, we're not getting showings. So that's going about on the listing side for pricing, and then obviously holding as many open houses as we possibly can to try to gain as much market share. Buy side, that's a little bit more tough. I haven't had a ton of conversations with buyers, but I think and I'm sure everybody's seen the memes that are out there right now. Like, this is what it was like earlier this year at this price point, and this is what it's like this, right now, because interest rates are higher, but you're not paying 50,000 over, and you are, and probably a home warranty, and you're, all of these things that are buyer incentives. But I think the biggest thing is just thinking outside the box on, either a 2-1 buy downs, or restructuring how your loan looks to make the numbers work for you. Because at the end of the day, it's wherever your comfort level is, with your mortgage payment versus, what the actual home price is. But
Yeah. So on the selling side, you are setting up the expectation that, hey, you got to price ahead of the market, or else you're going to keep chasing the market downwards, and we're going to keep reducing. Right? And we're never going to catch the bottom. If you price it ahead of the market, you can catch the price before it falls even more. And on the buyer side, it seems to be trickier because there's so many more things to kind of deal with because the interest rates are going up and your payments and your approvals, it's all different. What are you saying to buyers who tell you, the market is too uncertain and I want to wait it out, Brett? What do you say to that?
Sure. I look at that and I say, all right, well, think of it like this. I always ask them, when do you feel like the interest rates are going to come down? And a lot of times they're going to say, well, I don't know, maybe next year. Okay, great. Well, say we're at a 6.75 interest rate right now, right? And they go up again
Mm-hmm.
the rest of this year. And then all of a sudden in May or March, interest rates are down to 5. What do you think is going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
How many people are in that boat right now that are saying, I'm going to wait until the spring until it drops, and then the interest rate will be great? Okay. Also competing with all of those other thousands of buyers in the spring that are also thinking
Ah,
that same thing right now. So you're not only you're getting a lower interest rate maybe, but you're also competing with 7 other buyers, and you're probably not getting an inspection, and you're
yes.
probably not getting a home warranty, and you've got to probably see the house the day it hits the market, or you're going to lose it. Where right now, buyers have the power. I mean, in my market, that's what buyers have the power right now. Um, I just had a listing go active a week and a half ago, I think, a week ago, and I mean, aggressively so that we had the power. So we ended up getting multiple offers and
Mm.
getting to, you
Oh.
know, get in there, negotiate a little bit better, and then getting, over asking price versus,
Mm.
waiting. I think waiting to the spring is just going to be tough. Same thing with sellers. Sellers right now, it's kind of a damned if you do and damned if you don't kind of thing too. If you wait right now or if you list right now, you're obviously going to be, probably not getting top dollar for your home. Versus in the spring,
Right.
if we do see a drop in the price in the spring, now it's like a beauty contest on your street. If your house is one of 6 going on the market, you better be the prettiest one with the prettiest price, or you're probably not gonna do very well. Now, if you're the only one
Yeah.
in the beauty contest, we got pretty good odds of winning. So
Yeah, it's always a price war and a beauty contest for sellers, right? And especially in a market condition like this. But what I'm hearing you say is that if you're on the listing side, you price it ahead of the market, sometimes you still get multiple offers and bid the price up. It's possible, right? So setting expectations with sellers and really having those in-depth conversations with the buyers as well. Letting them know that you're getting the home at a lower price right now, however, at a higher interest rate. But when the rates come down, you win because you got it at a lower price instead of buying next year when the prices may go up again when the interest rates come down. But competing again with like 5 to 10 other offers.
right. Oh yeah, because then we're gonna get right
This
back
is
into the
this is
whole
the
thing we were
time.
in
This is
last
the
year.
time to really look at it.
The
Exactly.
what?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how long do you think this will last? This little shift right now. How long do you think it will last? Crystal ball question.
Yeah. Right. Gosh, I hope it. I don't know what's. I mean, I to just see it kind of even out, and I'm thinking like next fall to just kind of even out a little bit. Like the prices can come down a
Yeah.
little bit, the interest rates, yeah, can come down a little bit. I just want them to kind of meet in that, you know, I just want prices to come down just a little bit. So especially on the investment side, it's not so crazy, and then also the interest rates. I think if we stay around a 5 to 6 mark, I think that's going to be just fine. It's just I think when we start getting into sevens and
Yeah.
eights and higher, then it just really scares you, and it does really affect your buying power so much. But
Right. So
mhm.
next year, guys, fall, and I'm hearing that a lot. Mid to late next year, the market will start to balance out a little bit. So real estate agents, keep working, put the blinders on, and just keep going. What's the
That's
last
it.
insight you have for the audience, Brett, to
Mm.
finish strong in 2022?
I would say, especially for any newer agents, um, winter's coming, so this is what I would say, and this would be my recommendation, especially for anybody that's been in the business for just a couple years. Um, Stockpile your reserves right now, just because the last thing you want to do is have a slow winter, holidays and things like that, going into usually a slower market and not being financially prepared. That'd be my biggest thing. Put some money away. Don't start, going. Oh, I had 3 closings in November. Kids, we're all going to Disneyland, and you get a Hot Wheels car, and you get a you get a new snowmobile. Like, just
Yeah.
pump the brakes a little bit. I would say, and that's maybe just the conservative side of me, but I like to just focus through the winter, and at the end of the, spring comes, and I've got my stockpiled amount is still sitting there, the same amount. Well, then perfect, great. If I got to do it, then I'm not stressed out.
Sage,
You know.
sage advice, Brett. Thank you so much. And guys, stockpile your money right now. Don't go crazy. It's really really good advice. Okay. And guess what? Winter is coming, but winter is always followed by spring. So
Mm-hmm.
look forward to
Right.
it. Keep working. Put the blinders on, and make it a great finish. All right, Brett. Thank you so much,
That's right.
sir, for sharing all
Awesome.
your
Thank you.
insights. Have a great day. All
Appreciate
right.
it. You too.